yesterday. They're going to go get their Letterman jackets again. The Indianapolis Colts are 2-6 against the Titans since Pat McAfee came up here and did his wrestling announcement. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, they haven't had back-to-back winning seasons since I was a senior in high school.
What's up, Titans fans, and welcome to another edition of the Titans Global Podcast. I'm your host, Maximus Titan Fan, and tonight we're going to go over the recap of the game with the Steelers, talk about some stats that we made, some statistical leaders, what was great about the game, why I'm not that upset that we lost, and then we're going to wrap up with some rumors going on around the Titans and around the NFL. So to start, we're just basically going to rattle off some stats to you. Passing, Will Levis was 22 for 39, 262 yards, 6.7 average, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 4 sacks for 24 yards, and a rating of 66.4. Not great. Not that terrible, though. Completion percentage was pretty good. The 1 interception he had, I won't call it garbage time because we were trying to win the game, but I will call it make it or break it time. He either had to make something happen or we were going to lose the game. He tried to make something happen. It didn't work out. Might have not made the best throw in the world, but it was pretty darn good. I mean, he had a good game. I'm not gonna bash a rookie for his second game in the NFL for not having a, standout game like he did in the first one. I think that set everyone's expectations a little high. But Henry was 17 attempts, 75 yards, 4.4 average. Very nice. 1 touchdown. The 1 touchdown was extremely nice if anybody saw it, especially if you saw the still shot they put out afterwards, where he's leaning out and he's got the ball over the goal line and he's about maybe 2 or 3 inches off the ground. His whole body is completely parallel, but it doesn't touch. It was beautiful, something of pure beauty. Now, as I go over these numbers, you'll notice that I didn't really talk about Spears that much in the rushing game. I think he had like 9 yards, but he's kind of dropped off a little in the last couple of games. Still not going to give him, too much gruff over a rookie in his first season. In receiving yards, we had Kyle Phillips as number 1, which is a change. 4 receptions, 5 targets, 68 yards, 17-yard average. That's a pretty good average. That's pretty good receptions for the targets. Pretty happy with Kyle Phillips in this game. He's finally looking like the receiver we all wanted him to be. Now, if he can do that on a consistent basis and stay on the field, I'll be even more happy. D-Hop, man, Levis really tried to force it to him a couple times. He was 4 attempts for 11 targets. 60 yards, 15-yard average. Still had a pretty good yards. Not bad on yardage. Not great on yardage, but not bad on yardage. Like I said, a little forced. He got Chris Moore once for 29 yards on 2 attempts. Chig had 3 for 4 attempts, 28 yards. And Henry had 3 of 4 attempts for 27 yards. NWI had 1 for 23 yards. Burks had 2 of 3 for 23 yards. He got injured pretty bad. We'll talk about that later. Spears was 4 of 6 for 4 yards. I did say he would spread the ball out a little bit more, and he did, although he did try to force it to D-Hop way too much. At open receivers, Kyle Phillips was open a lot more than 5 targets. I can tell you that. Kyle Phillips was having a great game. Either that or the defense just wasn't really caring about him. They were really trying to take away D-Hop, which they did successfully in the second half. Didn't have a catch. Let's see. Tackles. Defense was pretty good. McCreary and Sean Murphy-Bunting both injured. So, backfield was thin. They weren't doing a great job. They were playing safe, so they were playing back, leaving a wide open gap in the middle and on the flats. As my co-host Tyler pointed out to me, just running straight up the middle and tossing to the flats pretty much every play. And he was right on, man. Any pass that went like 10, 15 yards to the flat, it was completed almost every single time. And they got extra yardage. Not that great. But still, Al-Shaair shining again. Tackle leader, 10 tackles. Had one pass defense. If anybody saw that, by the way, that was amazing, man. He saved the touchdown. It was kind of lucky because he wasn't even looking at the ball. He was just kind of stretching out because he was reacting to the receiver. But, man, what a good play, Al-Shaair. Down the middle. I can't remember who he was against, though. Simmons, again, PFF. I don't understand, man. He didn't have a great PFF score, but 7 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 stupid penalty called on him. I don't agree with the roughing the passer this year. That's kind of ridiculous. Fulton had a great game. 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defense, 5 tackles. He was all over the place, though, man. Tape shows it better than his stats. Fulton was great. Special teams, Stonehouse is the man. 3 attempts, 171 yards, 57-yard average. And, God, there was like 2 or 3 of them he put right down there. I mean, just flipped the field for us. Stonehouse, dude, doing it right. Folk, 3 of 3. He passed Justin Tucker as of Thursday. I don't know. I haven't looked at the stats as of today, but as of Thursday, he passed up Justin Tucker for field goals within 40 yards and broke the record. What's up, dude? Haven't seen you in a while, man. Anyway, moving on. The special teams returns. All right, I guess. Garrar averaged had 1 for 7 yards on a punt return. Spears, I think, had 2 attempts for 23 yards. Not great, not bad. But, I mean, the game could have gone better. But as far as I'm concerned, a lot of people are complaining about it. The play calling, especially the one there at the end. There was 3 rushing attempts to try to get a first down. I think the last one went to Spears on the draw play on 3rd down, 3rd and 7, I think it was, or 3rd and 8. It was a long 3rd down. Bad calls, man. Now, I mean, looking at it, at the analytics of it or whatever you want to call it, we weren't rushing very much to that point in the game. We had thrown a lot more than we had rushed. So, I mean, maybe he was trying to catch him by surprise or something. I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, they're bad play calls. And the only reason they're bad play calls is because they didn't work. If, Spears busted off for 13 yards and we got another first down and, we kept the drive alive, well, then great. Good job. Good call. But he didn't. So it's a bad call. Anytime a play doesn't work out, it's a bad call. Either way, it doesn't matter. As a coach, you should know that. That's like 101. So bad call, dude. As far as that goes, everybody's, arguing that online. I just wanted to go ahead and let everybody know who's saying that's a bad call. You're on the right track. The reason I'm not upset about the loss is because I think the Titans have actually found their quarterback of the future. I know it's only 2 games, but I just don't think I don't think we need to even see any more of Tannehill this year. I don't need to see any more of Willis as far as the game goes, just because of how far ahead Will Levis is compared to Levis or Willis. And he's not that far off, if not better, than Ryan Tannehill's playing right now. And I'll prove that later in the show. Let's see here. Colin Welsh says it's not so much that they are rushing, it's that they're doing it with Spears and not Henry. I'll give you that, man. But again, statistically, Spears right now, even right now, with the bad game that he had and the good game that Henry had, Spears, I think, still holds a better average than Derrick Henry does. Yard per game. So I don't fault him for using Spears. I get it. I understand what they're trying to do. It just didn't work out. And like I said, it's not really necessarily a bad call, because if it works, good, it's a good call. But it didn't work, so it's a bad call. It's just the way it works out, man. It's just like quarterbacks, you get all the praise. You got to take all the crap when it doesn't work out. That's part of it. So in other news, that's kind of crappy, or well, I guess it depends on how you look at it. Nicholas Petit-Frere had a shoulder surgery, or will have a shoulder surgery that will likely keep him out for the rest of the season. So, with Andre Dillard, the way he's been playing this year, we really need to figure out left tackle and right tackle. Who's the Titan tackles? It's my opinion, and I'm no genius or anything like that. I don't claim to be, but I do look at a lot of stats and I do look at a lot of tape, especially when it comes to the Titans. And as far as left tackle goes, Dylan Radins, every time they put him at left tackle, now he's played at left guard and right tackle also. But specifically when they play him at left tackle, he's done well. He's actually graded well out at PFF. His stats show up well. I could be wrong, and if I am, someone correct me, but I don't believe he's given up a sack as a left tackle. So I don't really understand why this guy isn't getting a shot at left tackle. So that would be my left tackle. At right tackle, I would probably start the rookie, Jalen Duncan, until Chris Hubbard was healthy enough to play. Again, tonight on Twitter after I got off work, my co-host Tyler had posted up a video of Jalen Duncan mauling a dude on a Henry run that he got like 13 or 14 yards on. He could make a great right tackle. I don't know how he is on pass blocking though. I haven't really got to review the last 2 weeks of game tape, so I need to get on that. I guess I've been kind of lazy on you guys, and I apologize for that. The other big news in Titans right now is all the weird rumors that are going around. The first one is that Mike Vrabel will either be traded or fired at the end of the season. I kind of stand on the fence on this one, because I believe that Vrabel's a great head coach. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I agree with you there, Charles. We have got to figure that out, man. We had 5 linemen at different points of the game go out in the game of the Steelers. So, yeah, we have to address that. We got to figure out what's going on with this injury bug, whether it's strength and conditioning, equipment. What's the problem, man? We keep changing things, except for the strength and conditioning coaches, which we've all been kind of saying that. I mean, I think everybody's on board now at this point. So I think something's got to change there. Maybe it's the Vrabel play. A lot of people say that too, that Vrabel just plays too hard nose of a type of football, and that it wears on athletes and they just can't hang it for 18 games or whatever. When they were playing that style of football, there was like 15 games, maybe even 14 games. But I don't know. I don't know. I think if you get the right kind of players, then I think you can do that. But I don't think that's today's football. It's not smash mouth anymore. I like the idea of exotic smash mouth, where you kind of have that mentality of smash mouth, but you also do a lot of sweeps and motions and things like that to confuse. But I just don't. Yeah, I agree with you, Charles. I totally think it's strength and conditioning coaches, and they need to change. And like I said, again, this kind of goes with the argument of Vrabel. It's his old style of football would be the one of the negatives on Vrabel. Another negative would be just his. And I don't get to interview Vrabel, but I watch a lot of people and I follow a lot of people online who do. And man, sometimes he's just downright mean is the nicest way I can say it to some people. Like the interview earlier this year, it was just out of character, or not out of character. It was just, but anytime you ask Vrabel a question, he never gives you a straight answer. It's very political. And I guess coaches are likely to do that. Some are, some aren't. Some are more open than others. And he's very tight-lipped, kind of like Belichick or the Patriot way or whatever. But I just don't think. And the reason I don't think is because he's only had one losing season prior to this season, of course, not including this season because it's not over yet. We look like we're going to have a losing season, but it might change. Anyway, the point is he's only had one losing season as a head coach. It's extremely hard to justify firing a head coach that's only had one losing season in, was it 7 now? And he's been to the playoffs twice, once to the AFC Championship, 3 times, once to the AFC Championship. It's hard to fire a guy like that. So, again, I don't see him being fired at all. No way. In my eyes, as a Titans fan or a fanalist or whatever you want to call it, with my Titans glasses on or my regular person glasses, I don't think he gets fired, period. Traded? Maybe. If someone was to give us a first-round pick or maybe a first and a second. I don't know. I don't really know the value of coaches on trading because they don't get traded that often, but I would think that the least amount I would take for Mike Vrabel is a first-round draft pick. And I don't know that anybody's willing to give up a first-round draft pick for him. Maybe the Patriots if they kick Belichick to the curb, but again, I don't know that Belichick's going to get kicked to the curb, even though he's not been great. And yeah, I don't see us getting into the playoffs, man. I don't know if there isn't a way. I would say if we win out, we could, but the likelihood of that is just way off. So I agree with you. I don't think we're getting in either way. But even if we have 2 losing seasons in 7 seasons, that's still hard to. I mean, some people that aren't or some of the people that are newer to the franchise don't remember the old Fisher days. We had Fisher for like 9 or 10 years, and more of them were losing seasons than winning seasons. I love Jeff Fisher. Don't get me wrong. One of my favorite coaches. I'm so glad to hear he's coming back with the Nashville Cats. But just not, yeah. The other big rumor or thing I'm seeing on social media, especially Twitter, is Tannehill starts if he's healthy. Well, people are saying Tannehill to start versus the Bucs. They're not saying whether he's healthy or not. But if he's healthy, first of all, if he's healthy, how healthy is he? I mean, he come into the season, it seemed like with an ankle injury already, or an aggravated ankle already. So if it's still aggravated, do you really want him to play? He's played the worst season of his entire career. I would rather him sit for another 2 weeks and come back fully healthy if he comes back. Now, if you were watching the whole show, I've already said I don't want to see Tannehill anymore. So you already know where I stand on that. But if he was to come back, I would want him 100% healthy, not like he was earlier this season, because he has had a terrible season. If that's what you're coming back with, no thank you. And I'll get to that here in a minute. But no, I'll get to that right now. Ryan Tannehill in 6 games. I'm going to run over his stats real quick. 98 for 158 attempts. That's a 62% completion. 1,128 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions with a rating of 71.9. So 72 rating. 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That is his worst touchdown to interception ratio he's had since starting. Agreed. And I'm about to prove it, Charles. You'll want to hear this. So Levis right now is 41 of 68. That's a 60.3 percentage. So a little bit less than a 62. So he's got a little bit less over 2 games than over 6. But he has 500 yards over 2 games, 4 touchdowns and 1 interception, and his rating is a 96.4. So his rating already is better. Even with the interception and the not great game he had against Pittsburgh. And people say it's not great game, but for a rookie quarterback, I mean, going 22 of 39 for 262 yards and an interception at the very end of the game is not having a bad game as a rookie. That's called an NFL game. That's a pretty good game as a rookie. Look at CJ Stroud and Bryce Young's numbers, Anthony Richardson's numbers before he got hurt, and then look at Levis's numbers. Now, I know CJ Stroud had a great week this week, and I'm very proud that you Texans can have something. But if you look at the averages over 2 games versus what they've done in their time and average it out, it's nowhere close. His average is 20.5 completions, 34 attempts, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a half an interception per game. That's Will Levis's average per game. If you take that over 6 games, his projection would be 123 completions for 204 yards, 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Let me just go back and forth from Ryan Tannehill to Will Levis. 98, Levis 123. Tannehill 158, Levis 204. Tannehill 1128, Levis 1,500. Tannehill 2 touchdowns, Levis 12. Tannehill 6 interceptions, Levis 3. So I don't see any reason as to why Will Levis should start. And yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're going to kill his potential. There's no reason for yeah. And anybody who watched the Jeffrey Simmons reaction to Will Levis's 4 touchdowns in the first game he played in, you already know he's got the team. Like, even if he's not the starter, even if Vrabel wants to be, in my opinion, ignorant and start Ryan Tannehill over Will Levis, Ryan Tannehill's lost the locker room as far as that goes. I don't think he holds as the leader anymore. I think Will Levis has already taken that. And anybody who watched the Willis and the Levis now, if you're still rooting for Willis, you just don't know football. You don't know what a quarterback needs to do, because Levis has the demeanor of a quarterback. He literally wants to carry the game on his shoulders. And in the end of the game, he wants the ball in his hand. That's a winner. And he has a chip on his shoulder. You have to have that as a quarterback. You need to be a little cocky. Look at Joe Burrow. He's one of the most cocky people I've ever seen. But he performs. And everyone believes in him. You know why? Because he's cocky and he backs it up. It's just like Kid Rock said. It ain't cocky if you back it up. And that's true. It's not. If you perform, then you can pretty much say whatever you want to about your performance because you can back it up with your play, you know? So there it is, folks. Quick recap. We had, I guess, a down game because we lost by 4 points, but I'm not upset that we lost by 4 points to a pretty decent Steelers team. I won't say they're good. They're probably middle of the road. We could have beat them, so that's upsetting. Winning in close games, yes, Charles. Yeah, that is exactly what I was just about to say. Winning in close games, we have not been on the good end of that pretty much for 2 seasons now. That has to change. We have to figure out a way to win these close games. And that's what Vrabel used to bring, or that's what I thought Vrabel used to bring to this team. If he can't start producing that, then maybe it is a time for a change of head coaches. And that is a crazy thing for me to say because I really love Mike Vrabel. I like his demeanor. I don't really like his interviewing, but I love the way he interacts with the players. The players seem to really love him. I don't know if he's, some people are claiming that he's lost a hold on the locker room. I don't really know if that's true. I think he has a disgruntled relationship with some of the players. I think maybe Fulton, maybe Tart. There's a couple players that aren't favorites of Vrabel's, or they don't like Vrabel very much, whichever way it goes. There is that, but this year, like I said, we'd have to win out, man. Pretty much. I mean, we would pretty much have to win out, and then we would have to hope for a wild card slot. That is the only way that we would win the playoffs, and the likelihood of that is extremely low. I'm sure our odds are like 25-1 or something like that. I can't imagine. I don't know. I haven't. That's a very good question, and I'll have the answer in a little bit. After I jump off here, I'm going to look that up because I'm going to have to know what the actual Vegas line is on that to get us to the playoffs. Because I think it's so ridiculously unlikely. They would probably give us 25-1 odds or something like that at Vegas right now. So yeah, if you're like a really big gambler, then there you go. But like I said, we'd have to pretty much win out. So I don't see that. But hey, yeah, and I will answer that. I promise you, man. I will answer you. Like I said, as soon as I get off here, I'll look that up and figure it out, and I'll give you an answer, bro. But yeah, dude, I'm frustrated that we're losing these close games, but I am happy in the fact that I think we've honestly found our quarterback of the future. And if we would start Radunz at left tackle, I think that he would perform well there, even though I don't see him on the team next year because he doesn't seem like a Vrabel guy. Unless Vrabel's gone, and then they might keep him around. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't really, like I said, I don't really think Vrabel's going to go anywhere because he's been a pretty darn good coach for a pretty darn good while, or at least it looks like it. I mean, it could be his players or I don't think it's his offensive coordinators or his defensive coordinators because they've all been friends of his, except for Arthur Smith, who was already here with the Titans for a long time. And obviously, I don't know. Anyway, thank you for joining me tonight. I really had a lot of fun. I think Hopkins and Henry will be gone next. That is a big thing that a lot of people are talking about. And I don't think Hopkins goes anywhere next year, especially if he's performing like he is this year for the rest of the season. because with Levis in there, he's actually performed really well. If you look at the numbers, just based on what he's done in the previous 6 games and the last 2 games, it's night and day. So I honestly think if he keeps doing what he's doing, he'll make good, especially if Levis figures out another target for other people to start watching. Like, obviously, it ain't going to be Burks. He's probably going to be hurt for another 4 or 5 games, maybe come in at the end of the season and whatever. I don't think it's going to be Phillips because he's made of glass. If Dallas doesn't sign him, they're looking at Martavius Bryant. So, wide receivers kind of open right now. It looks like the only healthy wide receivers we're going to have is NWI and Chris Moore. And Chris Moore's even been kind of banged up a little bit. But as well as Chris Moore's been, on the long balls, I don't know why they don't target him more. That would be who I would target. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Burks will be gone. Maybe not next year because I think he's still on a rookie contract. I don't know. Dang it. I'll have to look that up too. He's been around 3 years. I think it's his 3rd season, so he would still be on a rookie contract. But yes, he is fragile, unfortunately. Really wanted him to have a breakout season. Yeah, he's made of glass, man. So is Phillips, he appears to be. If he comes on late in the season, maybe he sticks. NWI, man, I mean, I got to give the guy credit. He's really stuck it out this season and pulled off some pretty big plays for us. Come up clutch in a couple positions. So I have to give him a little bit of credit. I was giving him crap in the offseason. So, but yeah, no, I agree, dude. He's not worth the 1st round pick. John Robinson did not have good drafts. That's pretty evident. He got lucky a couple times, apparently, but terrible drafter, man. It looks like already, though, that we've got a pretty darn good draft spotter in Ran Carthon, but he was a pro scout, so it makes sense. Had a bunch of good drafts with the 49ers. And his first 3 picks look like they're starters, automatic starters, and as a rookie, which is impressive. So hats off to him. Even the Wiley looks like he's going to be a starter by next year. So we'll have to see on that. Chig was disappointing this year, man. That's another thing I wanted to bring up. Chig's not been performing. I keep waiting on him to have a breakout game. I mean, I guess he did all right this week. I think he had like 3 or 4 catches, 30 or 40 yards. But 3 for 28. But yeah, I mean, that ain't great, man. I mean, 3 for 28, that's almost 3 first downs. So I guess that's not bad for a tight end, I guess. But again, I was expecting him to have a big breakout season, and it's not it. Yeah, dude, do that. If anybody wants to know where you can find me, and you don't already know, Maximus Titan Fan on Facebook. You can also find me on Titans Global Podcast on Facebook, and on Twitter, Maximus Titan Fan and Titans Global Podcast. On Twitter, YouTube, Titans Global Podcast, Instagram, Maximus Titan Fan, and TikTok, Titans Global Podcast. You can find me at all those places. That's where I'm at. I agree. He hasn't done that much, and he was coming on strong last end of the season, so I thought he would be, breaking out this year, but a lot of people thought that, and it hasn't happened. So, but looks like we've got some good players in Spears and Skoronski and Will Levis. So I'm really excited about the young guys. Excited to see what Ran Carthon can do in the offseason. We'll talk a lot more about that with all the money he's going to have. He's got a pretty well-rounded draft now. I think we're missing a 3rd round pick from getting Will Levis last year. But other than that, every single round we have one of each. And I think like 2 6ths or 2 7ths and something like that. I don't know. I'll have to look at it. I'm not doing well right now, but I'm going to go. Like I said, if you want to find me, you know where to find me. And y'all have a great night. Thank you. Tighten up. Peace out.